welcome you to Pullman, Washington, and onto the campus of Washington State University in Bowler Gymnasium, where a volleyball ticket has been one of the hottest tickets in town, as the Cougars are enjoying a 2-match homestand and 4 straight matches, including a couple in front of sold-out crowds, and we're expecting another big one tonight. Hi again, everybody. Steve Grubbs as we get ready for Pac-12 volleyball on a Friday night. The Cougars, ranked 4th in the country, welcoming in the Utah Utes. Well, last week, the Cougars started off this homestand with a matchup against the California Golden Bears, and as usual, the Cougars would use a well-balanced attack. Katie Ryan would get to double digits in kills. Amana Sanovich and also Maggie Yahalasheva, they continued their good work for Washington State as well. Cal put up a pretty good fight, but Washington State University, they were able to win it in straight sets as they took the third set 25-20, and with it ran their winning streak out to 14 in a row. That was before the third-ranked Stanford Cardinal came to town. And the Cougars and Cardinal were pretty close, and was ultimately Stanford coming away with a 3-1 victory. 3 of the 4 sets decided by only 2 points. And with that, Stanford still at number 3 in the country. The Cougars at number 4 in the country, but the Cougars did have their first loss of the season. Turning our attention to the Utah Utes, well, they were taking on the Oregon schools last weekend. And how about Camry Bailey for the Utah Utes? She ended up with a career-high 17 kills to lead the way as they got a 4-set victory over the Oregon State Beavers. They did fall to the Ducks in 4, so again 8-8 on the season, 3-3 in Pac-12 play. Lauren Jardine leading the way for the Utes offensively this year. The Cougs, ranked 4th in the country, taking on the Utes. Starting lineups and first serve, it's next on Pac-12 Plus.
WSU fans, when the Cougars make the block, be sure to get.
Oh, we'll go on the attack one more time, and how about this early on? Argentina Ung, your leading attacker for Washington State, 3 kills on 3 attacks.
And of course you have to see it coming from arguably her signature move, a scoop over the net.
Carly Basham now to the service line for Washington State. Of course, before becoming a setter, did spend some time as an outside hitter for Washington State. During the COVID years, spent a little bit of time at everything for Washington State as far as every position on the court. Vodulia will be set up for this attack. Utah scrambles after it. They'll set up for their freshman, but a good pass from Basham. Now back row attack from Kia Timmer, that'll find the line. Talked about her early on, and now she gets her second kill. And after giving up 2 in a row, the Cougars have bounced back with 2 straight of their own, and it's 10-6. Basham will continue on at the service line. Carly approaching 1,000 digs in a Cougar uniform. Spent her first couple of seasons as a Texas A&M Aggie and has more than 1,200 in her career, but is at almost 1,000 now in a Cougar uniform. Little out of system this time for the Cougs, and they can't get it over in bounds, so side out to Utah.
Yeah, looking at Carly, she is only 12 shy of that milestone, and if she has a good game here, there's a chance we could see it tonight.
Yeah, Julia Norval a little bit farther off, but she's approaching 1,000 digs as well in the back row during her career at Washington State. There's the set to the right for Lana Radakovic on the slide. And a point back the Cougars' way to make it 11-7. That'll bring Katie Ryan back in to play the front row as Argentina will go back down to the service line for Washington State. 11-7, Cougs hitting .417 so far. Meanwhile, for the Utes, they're a little bit shy of that. Here's the next serve. Set to the outside. There for the pass is Timmer. Vodulia set up. Good dig by Ramirez. And now from the back row, Utah attacks. Katie Ryan from the opposite side. That's an overpass from Utah. Now Radakovic from the middle, putting one away for Washington State. They now have their biggest lead of the opening set. It's up to a 5-point advantage at 12-7. Radakovic, one of the transfers over in the offseason off the transfer portal. Her and, of course, Alana Sanovic, two of the bigger gets in the offseason for head coach Jen Greeny and her staff. Utah this time on a good overpass on the dig from Ung. Not that it's an overpass, but a good job just to get to it. And then an attempt on the block from the Cougars, but it's just out of bounds and a point back Utah's way. Utah's one of those teams that, again, they've beaten some teams that you've expected them to beat, probably lost to some teams that you've expected them to lose to, but when all is said and done, when you take a look at the experience of Beth Lanier, this is a team that you know is going to get better as the season goes along, as Katie Ryan goes on the attack here. When it comes to the outside, there's a dig from Basham. That might get hung up. No, it's just over the net, and there to play it was going to be the Utes, and that was Allie Olsen. You had to kind of gauge whether or not we were going to take a ricochet off the speakers or not.
Yeah, and that's a tough play. I believe it went through the hole of the speakers, and again, like you said, looking for that ricochet is always tough.
So Utah with back-to-back points, and it's back to a 3-point Cougar lead. Overpass, and that one put away by Vanderwerf. So 3 straight from Utah. It's their longest scoring run so far in the opening set. They're back within a couple now at 12-10.
Looking at that Utes offense, Vanderwerf has been seeming to be a big part of that with her 4th kill on the night and a 1,000 hit percent.
A perfect 4 for 4 for her so far. Now it's Radakovic with the tip. Ramirez setting to the outside. Boom comes up to play it. Now it'll be Vodulia. She'll get the kill. Again, filling in for Alana Sanovic for the time being. And with that, they'll pick up her 2nd kill. And that'll give the Cougars a 13-10 lead as Logan Golden comes in to serve now.
And we do see Isanovic back over on the sidelines, coming back. So hopefully, she looks like she's still ready to be put in the game, so hopefully she's okay.
Here comes the serve now from Logan Golden. To the middle, and a good job on the attack from Allie Olsen, the senior from Great Falls, Montana, to get the kill for Utah. So it's 13-11 now. Cougs up here, couple of points. Again, just getting things started. Opening set action from Bowler Gymnasium. Argentina to the right for Katie Ryan, dug out by Utah. Now the attack on the other end, going to be off of Camry Bailey and out of bounds, too strong. And an attack error will give the point to Washington State. Haven't seen many attack errors so far in this one. That's just the 2nd for Utah. The Cougs themselves have only had a couple. So again, 25 points into this opening set, only 2 attack errors each side.
Yeah, it's been a pretty clean game so far. Looking at the hit percents, the Cougs with 417 and the Utes with 308. It's pretty solid all around.
Here's the set to the outside, and the tip over. Up to get it will be Young. Now Katie Ryan waiting. She'll go cross court for the kill. Katie Ryan had a really good start in the Stanford match. Again, Cougars just their 2nd loss of the season and the longest winning streak since the 90s at 14 matches in a row. Finally came to a close last Sunday.
And Ryan was one of those bright spots in the tough loss against Stanford with 14 kills and a 391 hit percent.
Set to the outside, and a block down from Magda Yahalasheva and Katie Ryan, so the Cougars will get their 2nd block of the night. Magda involved for her 2nd. Mentioned, of course, her tremendous number. She is Gonna close in on 700 before too long. She came into tonight 21 blocks shy of 700 in her career. Now has 2 so far tonight. Free ball, and then doesn't even clear the net. Little miscommunication on the Utah side, so that'll cause a timeout from Beth Lanier. Last time the Cougars went on a little bit of a run to open up the gap. Beth used one of her timeouts. Now she'll use her second. The Cougars have opened up a 6-point lead in Pullman. It's first set action, and it's Washington State 17, Utah 11. Back after this on Pac-12 Plus. Again, the Cougars with just a couple of extra mini runs so far in this opening set have been able to expand their lead out to a half a dozen. There's an overpass. Magda tried to put it away but couldn't. And now we've got a whistle against the Utes. They're going to call 4 contacts. Beth Lanier going to come over and talk to the officials about this as to whether or not there was 4 contacts or not. What's kind of surprised me, I didn't see 4 contacts, but maybe there was a ball between the two that caught a couple different players. But in any case, it's a point for Washington State, and that's now 5 in a row. 18-11, whatever Beth Lanier was told, she was at least willing to somewhat buy it. Now the serve from Rodakovic is going to be what? They're going to rule out of bounds. The corner linesman said that he was blocked on the play and couldn't see it, and then Eric Asami, the chair referee, decided that he was going to rule it out of bounds. And so I guess the question here for Jen Greeny is, did Eric clearly see it out of bounds or not, or is he flipping a coin? And I guess the only thing that I would say is if Eric had a clear view of it and he thought it was out of bounds, that's a good call by Eric Asami, or at least that's what he should be calling. But if he didn't have a good look at it, it should just be a replay, right?
Yeah, normally it would be a call from this side, I would believe. But again, like you said, if he got a good clear view of it, then the point's going to stick.
Yeah, the corner linesman made the signal that he was blocked and could not see it. Linda Kilby a little too far off the line to really get a good view of it because she's looking at the net, so it's hard for the down referee to get a good look at it. So I think it's either Asami or again a replay, and he decided that he got a clean enough look out of it to call it out of bounds, and now the Cougars get the side out back on the other end, and so it's 19-12. So again, Cougs up by 7 here, trying to take an opening set from Utah. Cougs in the middle of a 4-match homestand here during conference play. That one just a little bit long for Vanderwerf. Meanwhile, Utah thinking perhaps inside the line, and now we may have our first coach's challenge. As we will have the challenge, and I believe it's going to be on in-out, and so they will take a look at this one. Right now ruled in Washington State's favor, which would give them a 20-12 lead, but Beth Lanier going to use one of her challenges to see whether or not this is a inbounds or out of bounds call. So she'll head over to the monitor and take a look. Just first glance at it, I thought perhaps they can take a look at the touch, but I think what they're going to challenge most is going to be whether it was in or out. And again, they can look, and if there's a touch, they can also use that as the point to give it back to Utah as well if they want to, because they look at everything. But here's the good look at whether it was in play or out of play, and that one is looking like that's going to be inbounds, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it will be inbounds, and it didn't look like there seemed to be a touch at the net, so.
Yeah, and even if there was a touch at the net, it was inbounds anyway, so it was, I think, more than likely we're going to see an overrule here. Let's see if we can one more look at this just to see if we can get a last look. And again, all you have to do is have part of the ball hit part of the line, and to me that is pretty clearly, that's inside the line, isn't it? So yeah, that should be a pretty clear overrule and a point for Utah. So we will see if that's what Linda Kildu saw as well, but this should be a point for Utah, which would make it 19-13 instead of 20-12, and a good use of the coach's challenge by Beth Lanier, and that is exactly what it's going to be. Good job by our camera crew. That was a nice, clean look at it and a good challenge by Beth Lanier. The team was pretty confident that it was in, but the coach also has to issue the challenge card, and she did, and that was about as easy as it looks as far as an overturn is concerned.
And that's great that a coach can have that trust in her players when she believes that they're making the right call.
So 19-13 again, that point goes to Utah, and they get the serve. Now Pia Timmer with the kill. Ramirez was going for it. First to get to it was Waldman, and she just didn't quite handle the heat. And it's off of her and out of bounds for a Pia Timmer kill, and the Cougs the first to 20.
You're going to see a little bit more effort from Ramirez tonight, being the libero. Currently is second in the Pac-12 with 235 digs on the season.
All right, here comes the serve now from Timmer. Here's the set to the right. That's off of Bodulia and out of bounds. So a kill for Utah from one of their middles, and that'll be a point for Utah. Side out to the Utes to make it 20-14. And the serve for them will come Ella Biggs, 6'2" redshirt freshman out of Draper, Utah. Serving in front of that Cougar block. Here comes the set to the outside for Bodulia. That'll end up a bit long and an attacking error for Washington State. Point going to Utah.
And here we will see Iman Isanovic check back in, coming back from being injured a little bit earlier in this first set. And let's see how she can hopefully bounce back.
Yeah, so good to see Iman back into the contest for Washington State. Here's the serve. They're going to give it to the right first for Magda. That's going to be an overpass, but out of bounds for Utah. So point Washington State's way. Maggie Halashima will get the kill. And that is, by the way, we've mentioned so much about Magda's blocks so far in her career, and for good reason, but that also becomes her 1100th kill in her career at Washington State.
She can just do it all, Steve, can't she?
Yeah, she certainly can. There's a ball that bounces on the net a couple of times. Utah does scramble to it, but on the overpass, it is Radakovic to put it away for Washington State. The have opened up a 7-point lead late here in the opening set as Radakovic was able to capitalize on that one at the net. Now Basham again ready to serve. Set to the outside. That's going to end up long. Point to the Cougars to make it now 23-15. It's the third time in this opening set the Cougs have gone on a run of at least 3 points or more. They have had a couple of 5-point runs so far in this opening set. And you can make this now a 4-point run on a Carly Basham ace. Carly, another one of the servers in Washington State University that's collected a lot of aces, and that becomes a nice round number for her. If you count in the numbers from Texas A&M, her 100th career ace as a collegiate athlete. Next serve, played by Utah to the outside. Basham there to dig it out. Now the set comes for Asanovic, who goes up. Dug out in the back by Utah. That's going to be played by Washington State. Now Asanovic one more time. Ramirez gets to it, but it's out of bounds, and it'll be a Utah attacking error. With that, the Cougs able to take the opening set. Pia Timmer, 4 kills to help lead the way for Washington State. And the Cougars end up with a 10-point win in set number 1. The 4th-ranked Cougars open up things tonight with a 25-15 victory. And we'll come back with the numbers from set number 1 and get you ready for set number 2. It's next from the Blues, right here on Pac-12 Plus. Well, homecoming on the Washington State University campus. The Cougars take the opening set 25-15. They end up with 15 kills and hit 400. Pia Timmer led the way with 4 kills. What else caught your eye, and how good did you think Pia was in that opening set?
Pia, again, like I mentioned earlier, coming off of a little bit of a rough start against Stanford, looked to be catching fire early on. One thing that I particularly noticed, and I did talk with Coach Greeny about this a little bit earlier before the match, but WSU's service game has significantly improved from the match against Stanford. They do have 2 service aces, but again, just their approach at the line, they're getting a lot more hard hit balls across the line to really challenge that Utah defense.
I mean, aces are certainly something that you want, and service errors are certainly something you don't want, but so many times people look at that as a black and white thing, and Another thing that you can look at is how often are you getting the other team out of system on your serve, because then you can pick up free points off of that. And the Cougars, I do think, have been able to do that a few times here tonight.
And that's another point that Jen was also looking to do, which would be aiming for the setter to keep the ball away from Utah's libero, Vanessa Ramirez, who again has been on a hot streak this season so far.
Yeah, she's been one of the better ones in the conference. Katie Ryan putting that one away for Washington State. So the Cougars get the opening point here of set number 2 after taking the opening set again 25-15. And it's a 1-0 start for the Cougars here. And Julia Norval, one of their better servers. Of course, it's hard to pick out which server is the best because they've all been really pretty good for the most part. It just kind of depends on the night. And Julia's been one of the better ones throughout her career at Washington State. You know, an attack from Bailey hits the antenna on the way by. Camry had such a good game against Oregon State, and I know that was another thing for Jen Green, is she wanted to try and limit their outside hitters when it comes to Utah on the attack.
Yeah, that was one thing she was looking at. Again, specifically Bailey as well as Jardine were key people that she were looking to hopefully limit their offense.
Here comes the set to the middle. It's a tip over. The Cougars try and clear it over and cannot. And that'll be a point Utah's way. By the way, no Lauren Jardine so far in this match for Utah, so not sure if she's unavailable for this match tonight or not, but we've not seen one of Utah's better players in this match so far.
Yeah, Jardine, she does lead Utah in kills with 148, so hopefully, I'm not sure if she's maybe battling an injury or something along those lines, but they seem to be keeping her on the bench for now.
Well, a point for Utah as they get the ace, and with that they're able to grab their first lead of the second set. It's now 2-1. Now the next serve across. Here comes the set to the outside for Timmer. And she's able to get it. Job that time by Utah, but that time they were unable to get it across. They ended up getting it across the net, and I think what they're wooing here is that the ball, even though it ended on the Cougar side of the net, it went from this side of the antenna over to that side of the antenna. I think they're just saying general physics say it can't take a left-hand turn to get around the antenna. Now,
that'd be hard to do.
Yeah, but Beth Lanier, I think, is also saying, why is that Eric Kasami's call from the chair when he doesn't have a clear view of the antenna, I'm sure. But I do think that, again, it's the right call, because I don't see how you can go from this side of the net to that side of the net without being in front of the antenna, if that makes sense. And again, I think the only way you do it is if you have some sort of a nasty spin or a curveball. That'd be a trick from a volleyball player.
The only curve that I've really seen was coming from Stanford's. It was Stanford's libero or setter. She had such a very tough downspin on her serve. Other than that,
here comes the set to the right, shoved across. Now it'll be a set for Maggie Ahalasha, and she'll put that one away. The Cougars with now a little mini run to go on top 4-2 here. Again, Washington State getting the Mountain Time Zone schools this weekend. Utah tonight, Colorado on Sunday. After the Utes play here, they'll be across the state to take on the Huskies over the weekend. Bailey waiting for that one to drop and attacks, but it's dug out by Washington State. Now Asano with the kill, and good to see him on again, as you mentioned, just backing on the court, but now also collecting a number, and that's a kill, her second after having that one before she went to the bench early in the first set.
I think it will also be good for Jen to keep an eye on him on it during this match, because again, Utah is only 8-8, and if anything agitates it further, you wouldn't want to risk that. And getting some action from some of your depth players, such as Logan Golden and Veronica, would be a good thing.
A block from Maggie Ahalasha to give the Cougars another point, and now a 4-point run in this set, as it's now a 6-2 lead for Washington State, and for Magda, that's going to be her third block of the night, and that'll be gunned down as a solo block from the senior out of the Czech Republic. This time around the block and a kill for Utah's middle, Emery Satuala, as she's able to get the kill for Utah, ending the 4-point run from the Cougars and making it 6-3. Now it'll be Utah's serve. At the service line, Emily Smith. Set to the right and a tip across from Magda. Now Bailey goes up and she'll get the kill for Utah. Making it now 6-4 in favor of Washington State. So back-to-back points for the Utes, and Smith will stay at the service line. And Washington State took the opening set 25-15, leading here 6-4 in the second. That one played by Timmer and then dumped across the net from Argentina, and it's now a point for the Cougs and a 7-4 Washington State lead. And no Lauren Jardiner that we've seen so far from Utah. Again, we weren't told of her being absent, but maybe something that folks back home in Salt Lake City knew or didn't know. I'm not sure if it's an injury or an illness, but again, she's just hasn't been on the court yet, so did want to pass that along to folks. We'll see if she, at any point tonight, makes her way out, or whether she's already been officially ruled out. And Utah already knew that, but a point Utah's way, and it's now 7-5. Mulder plays the pass, set to the back row for Timmer, and there's a block at the net this time for Utah. First block of the night for the Utes after the Cougars collected the first three.
And that was by Emery Satualo, who leads the Utes with 52 blocks on the season.
Another Utah native, 6-foot sophomore out of Bountiful, Utah. Sonovich with the attempt. That one a little bit long, and another point for Utah. So after falling behind early, the Utes have rallied with 5 out of the last 6, and have come back to even the second set up. It's now 7 points apiece. And some pretty good serving here for the Utes. Now Sonovich up the line and collecting a kill for Washington State. So a good side out for the Cougs to preserve the lead as they get it back now at 8-7.
And you do love to see that coming from Iman, again, coming back from tweaking something earlier in the game, as she does lead the Cougs in kills for the season with 201 and climbing.
An ace for Washington State, their third of the match. This one coming from their setter, Argentina Ung, with the setter ace, and it's now 9-7 Washington State. The Cougs with back-to-back points after Utah had come back to tie. Set this time to the outside. Dug out by Basham, but it's over the net, and Satuala puts it away. And no point Utah's way on a side out, making it 9-8. Everything else in the conference a little bit later tonight. Got a bunch of matches starting at the top of the hour, and then Stanford and USC at 8 o'clock tonight. We're the first thing going on a Friday night in the Pac-12. Ramirez had that serve. The Cougars will set up Katie Ryan, but it blocks it up by Utah. And they're finding some footing here in the second set. That was their setter, Walgren, going up with Allie Olson to get the block. And that's their second block in this set. They've tied it again. It's the third time they've been tied in the second set. It's now 9 apiece. Sonovich has been getting a lot of the work done as of late for the Cougars. She'll pick up another kill, and it's now 10-9 in favor of the Cougars.
What you really like to see looking at WSU stats is they seem to be sharing the wealth here tonight with kills, with the only Cougs not having kills are the defensive players and liberos.
Service error this time from the Cougars, so back to level terms. It's now 10 aside. Talked about Magda getting her 1100th kill. Iman, going back, of course, to her playing days at Arizona State, she is now just a few shy of 1,600 in her fabulous career. Set to the middle, and Radakovich dropping the hammer. She'll get the kill and the point back to Washington State, and the side out back over to the Cougars.
What you really like to see from Radakovich is she doesn't always go for the kill, but when she does, she's really smart about it. Going back to the Stanford match, she only had 4, but she had a 500 hit percent, so that just means that her selection of when to kill has just been really on.
There's a good serve from her. Utah scrambles, it's right at the net. Then Timmer tries to put it away, and We're going to call Utah in the net, and it'll be a point for the Cougs to make it now 12-10. So a good serve that time from Radakovic. Has a good serve, and now is ready to go at it again. Lost the ball momentarily, which gave her a little bit of a chuckle, but now has it back and ready to go. That one's going to be a service error, so point back over to the Utes. And it's now 12-11. Back to the service line will go the Utah Utes. Second set action here from Bowler Gymnasium on a Friday night. And it's off of Basham and unplayable, so an ace for Utah. And the Cougars, who had a little bit of a run in that opening set to create some distance, haven't had that so far here in this set. Remember, they had that 5-point run, which gave them an 8-4 lead. They had the early run, but it was only 6-2 at that stage. And Utah's been able to stick around midway through this second set, trying to take the lead, and Asanovic with a kick at it to try and keep the play going, but it'll be another point for the Utes as the serve-receive game breaking down just a little bit for Washington State.
And Utah really likes to see Brianna Voss at the service line, as she has 13 service aces on the season. So she is definitely one of those people that Utah will want to have behind that line right now to hopefully maintain the lead against the Cougs.
He's had a couple of aces here in this set, and with that has given Utah the lead of 13-12. Now Yahalashva trying to put it away, but Utah digs it out and will set up for Bailey. Blocked back by Yahalashva at the net, and then touched over and down by Katie Ryan. So the first lead for Utah since they're up 2-1, it came at 13-12 with the Cougars come right back to answer with the point. We're now even at 13 aside. Serve will go to Julia Norval now. The set comes to the outside for Bailey. Now goes to Pia Timmer, who touches it across, and a nice heading move from Pia Timmer. Saw the block there, knew she wasn't going to get past that, so just a slight touch to get it up and over the block and down.
And that's just a smart play from Pia Timmer. Again, looking at this match, Pia seems to be playing a lot smarter than she was with Stanford, being a lot more selectful with her approach to getting that ball over the net.
So 14-13 Cougs now. Set to the middle. Basham there with the dig. And now Timmer with the kills. That did catch the fingertips of Voss going by, and it's now a 15-13 lead for Washington State. So a 2-point lead for the Cougars here.
And that dig for Carly puts her at 2 away from her 1,000th career WSU dig.
Now at the double digits. First player on either side to get the double digits in digs, isn't she?
She is.
She's had a good match already, 5 digs per set, not even through with the second set yet. Meanwhile, a kill now on the slide for Amelia Vanderwerf. Of course, she got off to that hot start, 3 kills in her first 3 attacks, has gone 3, 1, and 4 since then, so still swinging it well, hitting .625 and has 6 kills for Utah. So it's 15-14 now as the Utes back within a point. That serve hits the tape of the net and falls back to a service error. 16-14 now in favor of the Cougars. Cougs with 3 aces, the Utes with 3 aces. Washington State with 4 service errors. That's the second from Utah tonight. Set to the right for Vanderwerf. Dug out that time by the Cougars, and now going to work will be Asanovic. An overpass on the pass from Ramirez. A touch over by that time Maggie Halashman, just out of the reach of Vanessa Ramirez and down.
And this will keep Pia Timmer at the service line, which the Cougs like to see, as she leads the Cougs with 17 service aces on the season so far.
Has a chance before all is said and done to break the record of most aces in Cougar history. She needs 19 more to tie Penny to, so now you can make it 18 more with her second ace of the night. with that ace, she is now one shy of third place on the all-time list, which is held by Beth Welch. She had 133 in her career. Timmer now with 132. And then into the net on the next serve, so the service error gives it back over to Utah, but for the first time in a little bit, with a little bit of a run there, the Cougars, after 3 in a row, had a little bit of some breathing room, and still up by 3 here at 18-15.
Utah has done a really good job of keeping this set fairly close.
Now Sonovich picking up the kill. Again, had that one kill early in the first set, and then obviously went out for a bit, came back to wrap up the first set, but now 4 kills in this second set alone, and she's now up to a handful on the night. And it's 19-15. Serve back over to Washington State. Obi Basham serve. Set comes to the outside, blocked back by the Cougs. Valentino. Fourth block of the night. The first one where the name Magdi Halasheva wasn't mentioned. They do have some other blockers on this team, and Radakovich and Noon were able to get up and get that one. And with that, again, a little bit of breathing room for Washington State. It's been a little bit tougher, though, in this second set. After winning the first, 25-15, the Cougs now 20-15, as we'll step aside from Pullman on Pac-12 Plus. Well, we do welcome you back here to Pullman, Washington, 20-15. How about that, young lady, Amana Sonovich? Not sure if it was just a little tweak or what it was, but seems like she's doing just fine after spending a little time out in the opening set. And what a second set she's had so far for Washington State.
And I'm sure we'll hear a little bit about that from Coach Guarini after the match. But again, like you said, she has picked up 5 kills so far. Hitting 400 is pretty good to see after coming back from being out for a little bit.
Again, now 2 kills shy, 1,600 in her career. Carly Basham has seemed to have that little short serve working a couple of times. It has hit the top of the net and has just enough to get over, and that's going to be an ace for Carly. We mentioned she picked up her 100th collegiate ace with her last one, now working with 2 on the night. Here's the next serve from her with the Cougars up by a half a dozen. Norval got an arm on it. Cougars going to try and clear, and they're able to clear. Now comes to the middle, and now we're going to say that it was 4 contacts on Washington State. So there was a good effort by the Cougars to get it across. Jen Greeny coming over to talk to Linda Kildew, because again, we had a ball that ended up in the net, and I guess that the Cougars are going to live with the 4 contact call. We had one back in the opening set that Beth Lanier didn't like, but again, both coaches have ended up being settled on for the explanation. We'll keep going here and side out to Utah.
And the crowd does seem to disagree with that call, as Bowler seems to not be thrilled with that decision, but we play on.
21-16, Cougs by 5, and the serve from Utah is rocketed out of bounds this time by the Utah in the service area. So 22-16, Katie Ryan back into the contest. And Valentino back to the service line out of Sonora, Mexico. Has done such a good job setting for this team. It's been a great job of directing the offense from her setter position. Had a few more errors here in the second set at the service line from both sides, and that'll be another one. And a point back Utah's way to make it 22-17. Vanessa Ramirez now set to serve, senior from Pasadena, California. There to play at Timmer. Gonna be Asanovic, but that one blocked back, covered by Basham. Now Radakovich from the right, but cannot clear the net, and a side that ends up going a point to Utah.
Going back, Vanessa Ramirez has really been a staple for that Utah offense. As again mentioned earlier, 235 digs, which is second in Pac-12, as well as 4.04 digs per set, which is third in the Pac-12.
Now the set outside for Katie Ryan. Utah trying to keep this one alive. Ramirez brings it back in. Free ball for the Cougars. The set for Asanovic. That one gets through and down. Alon has her 6th of the night. And it's now 23-18.
And I look there almost that the 2 blockers from Utah just mistimed their jump on that one.
I was trying to decide whether that was kind of like a change-up from Amana Sanovich, whether she was going up and then just at the last minute held off until they went up and then kind of waited on. In any case, Utah will call a timeout. So let's step aside quickly, then we'll come back to wrap up the second set. We'll see if it goes the way of the fourth-ranked Cougars. Opening set did, 25-15. They lead 23-18 here in the second. And it's Cougar Volleyball and Utah Ute Volleyball on Pac-12 Plus. Well, we welcome you back here to Bullard Gymnasium, Washington State, and the Utah Utes. This game pretty close to the first half of this set. Now the Cougars have opened up a little bit of a gap here in the second half of set number 2.
I do have to give some credit to Utah in this match, Steve. I did not think that they would be able to keep it this close of a margin against the number 4 team in the nation. They've done a good job of keeping it fairly close, and hopefully they can try and force a potential fourth set.
A block down from Katie Ryan and Alana Radakovich as they go up for the 5th block of the night for Washington State. 23-18 in favor of the Cougars, and one big number here in the second set is the Cougars with 15 kills in the set. Utah only the 5, and right now the Cougars out hitting Utah 370 to 059. Most of that coming again in the second half of the set as far as the discrepancy is concerned. Radakovich just enough to get it across, played back over by Utah. Now Radakovich unable to get it past the Utah middle, and going to be a side out to Utah. The Cougars will have to wait for at least a second opportunity at set point.
And we did just see Amelia Vanderwerf, who had a really hot start for Utah, check back in to hopefully limit the damage here from the Cougs.
She's back into the front row because Wahlgren back to serve for Utah. Now it'll be Timmer going cross court, but a good dig by Ramirez. The attempt from Utah's outside hitter, over and down from the freshman, and the Utes have staved off a couple of set point opportunities, but still 4 more here for Washington State to try and get it done in set number 2.
And Utah likes having Wahlgren at the service line as she leads the team with 23 service aces.
Almost the 24th, but the Cougars kept it going and hit over by Asanovich. Now to the middle, and they'll get the point anyway with the Cougs a bit out of system as Allie Olsen puts it away. And it's now 3 straight Utah Ute points as the Cougs had a half a dozen set points, and Utah's now killed away 3 of them, but they've got 3 more that they've got to try and dispose of. So set point number 4 again. A little bit of an errant pass, but they still get it to Timmer. Ramirez able to dig it out, and then Katie Ryan puts it away for Washington State. So the Utes rallied at the end of the set to get to within 3, but on the overpass, Katie Ryan puts it away for Washington State, and they take the second set 25 to 21. So 2 sets in the books. Washington State 25-15 in the first. Washington State 25 to 21 in the second. We'll take a break. When we return, we will have some numbers from the opening 2 sets and get you ready for set number 3 as the Cougs will be looking for a sweep tonight from Bullard Gymnasium. Happy to have you with us on a Friday night of Pac-12 Volleyball on Pac-12 Plus. Well, 2 sets to none. Washington State leading Utah. Opening set, the Cougars 25-15. Utah scored 3 in a row to get within 3, but then the Cougars capitalized and took the second set 25 to 21. Meanwhile, Pia Timmer for the Washington State University Cougars. She's had a good match so far, hasn't she, Evan?
She has, again, looking at it, she has 8 kills on the match, hitting 357 and 3 digs, 2 service aces. As I've mentioned already a couple times, she's had a great bounce back game here tonight against the Utes.
Again, a couple of historical things. We are now 1 shy from Asanovich getting to 1,600 in her career. With the 12 digs now, Carly Basham up to 1,000 digs in a Cougar uniform. And kind of fittingly enough tonight on Alumni Weekend for homecoming, the all-time leading digger in Cougar history, Alexis Durighi, is in the house as Carly gets to 1,000 in her Cougar career. showed off a handful of Cougar alumni players, all playing under Coach Greeny. McKenna Woodford, along with Clara Martin, Olivia Cole, Alexis Driggy, and also Ashley Brown, all here for the Cougars. And by the way, Clara Martin, with this match, Magda Yahalasheva passes Claire, playing in the 4th most matches in school history. So we're talking about some of the Cougar greats that were out here being honored, and of course watching some of the Cougar greats here that have got this team out to a number 4 ranking in the coaches poll for a 2nd straight week. And the Cougars will have a opening point on a point from Washington State. Now they're going to wave it off and call a net violation on the Cougars instead. And it will be a point going to the Utah Utes. Meanwhile, for Jen Greeny, she is thinking about using the challenge card, now is going to use the challenge card. So a little back and forth there between her and Linda Kildew. Linda was saying, yeah, she was in the net. Jen was saying, no, she's not in the net. Linda said, yeah, she was in the net. And then Jen said, all right, fine, I'm going to challenge it.
Yeah, there was a little bit of sass with that card flip for the challenge card coming out from Jen there.
Yeah. Let's see if we can see something here. So we got the top of the net, the bottom of the net, any part of Magda touched the net. And so far, I'm not seeing anything. Does that arm catch the net? Now coming down, does it catch it after that?
I don't think so.
I don't think it does. It looks like it's pretty clean to me. So, I mean, it just looks like there was, what, maybe 6 inches there that might be clear? I mean,
if that.
So we will see. It looks like it's going to be one that we think should be overturned, but we'll see if Linda Kildew does come up with that as well, or whether she comes up with something else. She is going to put the towel over the monitor and head down the other way. She is going to talk to the scoring table, and now is going to make her way, and it is going to be a point for Washington State. So the Cougars will get the point. It'll be an overrule as Magda was not in the net, so that'll be a point for the Cougars.
And you love seeing Jen's reaction there, just like throwing her hands up and walking away, knowing she was right the whole time.
So again, the couple of challenges we've had, one on each side, have both been overturned. A couple of veteran coaches, Beth Lanier patrolling the Utah sideline, Jen Greeny on the Washington State sideline, and now the Utes will get the side out back, and that'll even the score at 1 apiece. It was interesting because I think Jen was actually talked into the challenge almost by the referee on that one. So in any case, it'll be a point for the Cougars off the challenge, but then a quick side out for Utah. We're even at 1 aside.
That was a really strong kill by Jabadlo right there for the Utes.
Here comes a serve through the hands of Basham, and that's going to end up being an ace for the Utes. So a receiving error from the Cougars will give the Utes another point, so you can now make it 2-1 in favor of Utah. Washington State looking for a sweep. They've won the opening 2 sets. Utah trying to push us to at least 4 tonight. Another one off the arm, but the Cougars will bring it back in play for an attack for Timmer. Now to the middle, a tip that's blocked down by Magda, and then unable to clear the net. It's going to be Satuala, and a point for Washington State. Well, the Cougs again here at home. Only the 1 loss so far here at home. The only other loss on the season all the way back in the 2nd match of the year when they fell to Louisville. So there are 2 losses this season to top 5 teams when they played them. Good dig from Timmer. They will set 4 p.m. The attack from Pia Timmer going to miss, so an attacking error to give the point Utah's way. Fans have been flocking to Buller Gymnasium, and for good reason. We've had a couple of sellouts, including, of course, last Sunday against Stanford. And with Sunday's matchup against Colorado, we're starting to get down to it. Only a half a dozen matches left here at Buller Gymnasium on the home schedule. There's the set to the right. Magda Yahalasheva has that one go off, and Ramirez will pick up the lead. Well, can you imagine what Wednesday the 22nd is going to be like? I'm not sure that that's going to be the day that they do senior day. It's their last home match, but whenever they honor their seniors, this class, and how much they've contributor to this program, what night that's going to be.
Absolutely, and I think there's another couple other key matches that Coug fans can look forward to, especially when Oregon comes into town. That will for sure be a big match that fans are going to flock to Bullard to see.
That one near the line, and Jen Graney again over to the challenge card. That's going to say that is out of bounds, and the Cougar fans urging Jen Graney to challenge that one, so we'll have yet another challenge. It was ruled in on the sideline. That's across the way from both where the coaches and we are sitting, but we'll get a good angle at it right here as the ball going to be touched over by Utah, and that is going to be, as it starts to make its way down, haven't gotten to the floor yet, needs to keep coming.
A little close.
It is going to be close. And that one is going to be...
looks like it might just be out.
Maybe just by a sliver out of bounds. And so that will be another zoom in on it. Looks like it should be another one. Could that maybe be...
Could it maybe touch the white line?
Stands?
Oh, that's a close one, Steve. Like, it's by like a centimeter if it touches the white or not.
That one might be call stands, as you see the ball right there is part of that ball touching part of that line. I'm going to guess call stands on this one, but we will see.
I don't know. I'll go the other way. I'll go overturn.
They're going to say it was out of bounds, and it was indeed overturned. So there we go. Well done, overturn.
There you go.
Cougar fans over the far side and going to be go ahead and give an assist on that one. It's now 4-3 in favor of Washington State on the overturn. All right, Pia Timmer at the service line again. Overpass, and Magda puts it away. Magda Alhasha, her 6th kill of the night to go along with 4 blocks.
And you really like to see, what I like to see from Pia Timmer at the service line is she has such a strong hit, and the other team just can't tell whether it's going to be towards the back line or if it's going to drop right in front.
Ramirez plays that difficult serve, set to the outside, and that'll get down and a kill for the Utah Utes. Freshman's played pretty well tonight, Gabaldo. That's going to be her 4th kill. She's hitting, well, actually making her 5th kill, only hitting 111. She does have 3 attacking errors, but does have 5 kills.
She is second on the team with kills for the Utes with 143, so she definitely puts the work in when needed.
Argentina once again goes on the attack, so she gets her 5th kill. With Argentina being a little offensive-minded today, the Cougars now have 7 players with at least 4 kills on the stat sheet so far. And again, Timmer leading the way with her 8 from the opening 2 sets. 6-4 Washington State here in the 3rd. Basham will play the deflection. He'll get it for Radakovic, and she's going to add another to her total, so that'll be her 5th. And again, I think what Argentina does so well from that setter's position is she recognizes what the other team is doing and tries to set up her attack, and that's what setting is all about, and to give them the best opportunity to put the ball away. But I think she's done a really good job this season for the Cougs.
Absolutely, and with Arhe, she definitely is one of those all-around setters. Like, she can do it all. She, of course, carries and assists with 625 going into tonight's match, is second on the team with 43 blocks, 120 digs, 52 kills, which is what you really like to see. And again, like you said, she can just identify the plays from the other side of the ball so well that gives her that advantage of being an all-around player.
Did have a Lauren Jardine signing. That was her who picked up that last kill, so she's now in for Utah. Here comes the set to the back row for Pia Timmer. That's going to end up being just a little bit long, so on the attacking arrow point Utah's way.
I'm really curious why Utah waited so long to put Jardine in.
I think you have to be inside that Utah circle to know, and unfortunately neither you or I are inside that circle as we saw it. Here comes the serve. Here comes the set to the right for Radakovic, and on the slide, she'll put it away for Washington State. Of course, we've got Magda, All-American at one middle, and then the one nice thing for Jen is that position, due to injury last year, was such a shallow position. It's deeper this season. She's used Radakovic, she's used Jasmine Martin. We've seen Shea Rubright a little bit in some action earlier this season, but I mean, she can go with who she thinks is ready to go on that night, and if they're not ready to go, she can make a substitution. And Radakovic, proving that she was up for the task of the start, just picked up her 6th kill not long ago, and now add along a 7th kill for her here.
And going back to talking about depth for the Cougs, Steve, is looking even at just the liberos, of course, with Carly Basham there, but then you essentially have another starting libero in Julia Norval right there to step into the rotation.
Nice ace that time for the Cougars. They were a little late getting to it on the read on the receiving side of things, so Arhe is going to pick up the ace. That'll be the 6th of the night for the Cougars to now give them a 10-6 lead and a 3-0 run here for the Cougars. Here comes the set, tipped across. Basham comes up to play it. Katie Ryan will go into setting roll and set one nicely for Amana Sanovic, and she'll point Katie's way, saying nice assist. 4 straight for the Cougars as they look for a sweep of the Utes in Pullman tonight. They've taken care of the opening 2 sets. Still got a long ways to go in this third. But Washington State has opened up a 5-point lead. It's 11-6. And we'll make our way back to Pullman. It's homecoming weekend on the Washington State campus. And we'll be back with more Pac-12 volleyball on Pac-12 Plus. Well, the Cougars doing well offensively tonight here, but as they're hitting 378, you can't overestimate the defense that the Cougars bring in. Of course, one of their leaders, that one wearing the crimson uniform, Carly Basham for Washington State.
Carly Basham has definitely made history here tonight, as we mentioned, picking up her 1,000th career WSU dig.
Yeah, 1,000 digs in her career. There's another block from Washington State. Speaking of defense, that'll be their 7th of the night. So up and over 1,200 digs in her career and approaching 1,300. Again, spent her first 2 seasons of her career at Texas A&M before transferring. Now has been a staple for Jen Greeny in that back row, and now has that 1,000 digs in a Washington State uniform, and leads the way tonight with 14 for the Cougars. Katie Ryan with the attack. Comes right back to the Cougar side, and now Asanovic going on it. Again back over to the Cougar side. And Amon with a little touch this time. So try it once, it comes back. Try it twice, it comes back. This time let's hit them where they ain't. And that was a little tip between the front and back row.
And you did see that effort to pancake it up from Utah, but it was just perfectly placed right in the middle of the gap.
So 13-6, the Cougars hitting 500 in this third set. Now a 6-0 scoring run before that service error. But again, hitting 377 for the match compared to 138 for Utah. You mentioned Julia Norval earlier, that she's kind of a second libero for the Cougars. Would probably be a libero for a lot of teams in this country. She came in tonight just 42 digs of 1,000 in her career, so she's now 35 away, and we'll get to 1,000 as well in a Washington State uniform. All right, here's the set outside. That looked a little wonky, and it was called double contact on, is that an official volleyball term, wonky? Probably not, but nonetheless, double contact whistled on Walgren.
And going back to Norville there, she does have 140 digs, which is second for the Cougs going into this game tonight. And of course, she's just a great asset for the Cougs, lining up really nicely with Carly in that back row.
Emma Barbero is checked in, the freshman from Italy, now serving for Washington State in the 14-7 lead. Set comes to the outside. Basham got to it. Now Timmer gonna get the kill. Basham will pick up her 15th dig, and he is gonna get her 9th kill of the night. So the Cougars seem to be finding a really good rhythm here as we're a little past the midway point from getting to 25 in set number 3, and are on a 7-1 run. Here comes the next serve. This time a nice set to the middle, and this time put away by their middle. That's Allie Olson who will get the kill for the Utah Utes. And Utah will take on the Huskies. That matchup will be over the weekend. The Utes right in the middle of the conference at 3-3. You've got that top half. It's going to be interesting to watch the rest of the way. Here comes the set for Ryan. That'll be an attacking error, but I mean, obviously Stanford with the top 5 matchup in the win, undefeated. They're going to be a team to be dealt with. We've seen the Cougars beat Oregon. We haven't seen Oregon play Stanford yet. And then, of course, the Cougars will host Oregon and go to Stanford later this season.
And I think a big part of seeing if the Cougs can move up would be whether or not they can beat Stanford at Stanford, or if Nebraska or Wisconsin ends up falling to a lower seeded team.
Well, Katie Ryan getting the kill. When you're up at number 4, it's not easy to move up any further. You have to have help from the other teams losing. And unfortunately, with Wisconsin and Nebraska with 0 losses next to their name heading into the week, it might take a step or two for them to fall to get past them. Really strong serve this time from Mordakovic. And don't want to say it's night and day, but you can tell that it's a much better service game here for the Cougars than it was on Sunday against Stanford.
Absolutely, and again, going back to that is something that Jen Greeny was looking at improving upon during their practices this week, and I would say it's safe to say that it definitely translated over in this game here tonight.
17-10, Cougars on top after a service error from Washington State. That'll give the serve back over to Utah. But certainly as we sit, and we don't want to get too far into the weeds here, but looking like there could at least be 3 host schools in the opening 2 rounds of the NCAA tournaments. Again, the top 16 seeds get to host, as Magdia Halashova puts that one away. Now again, you've still got to go out and take care of business in the number of matches that are left, but Stanford, Washington State, and Oregon all ranked right there in the top 5. Know that right now as we sit, they're all in position to host, and I think it would take quite a bit of work for them not to be in that position at the end of the season.
And you really have to look at those conference games within the Pac-12, because we do have a couple really good contenders in the Pac-12, with Arizona State currently being 19, Oregon at number 5, the Cougs at 4, and Stanford at number 3.
It's been a really solid year for the Arizona State Sun Devils. Meanwhile, Mag is going to check out, and a great moment here. Shea Rubright will get a chance to come back in. Again, we've seen Shea in various spots throughout the season, but the 5th-year player out of Yakima, Washington, now into the contest. 19-10, the Cougars on top as the serve from Norval. Set coming to the outside, tipped across. They will have a dump over by Argentina, and Arhe now has a half a dozen kills herself on the evening. And you know that she's making wise decisions when it's 6 kills in 7 attacks. And I think that's what it's going to be when they update the stats here. And that is actually 6 kills, on 6 attacks.
I'd say that's a pretty good hit percentage, Steve.
I don't think you can do better, except for maybe 7 out of 7. Meanwhile, unable to clear the net on the serve is Utah, making it now 21-10. Beth Lanier going to ask if she's got another timeout left. She will, so we'll take the break. And then we'll come back in what is certainly looking like it's going to be a Cougar sweep tonight in Pullman. They're up 2 sets and up 21-10. And we'll be back after this. It's Pac-12 Volleyball on Pac-12+. Well, back here to Pullman, Washington, it's been another 4-0 run here for the Cougars. That's after earlier in the set they scored 7 out of 8. With that, they've been able to open up a big gap here at the end of set number 3. It's now 21-10. As the serve to Julia Norval for Washington State. Set to the outside, sent across by Utah. They will set it this time for Pia Timmer, who will get to double digits in kills. She'll be the first and, for the time being, only member in double-digit kills. She's up to 10, and now she's going to make her way out of the contest. And how about Magdalena Iric, the redshirt junior out of Croatia, going to make her Cougar debut here tonight.
Yeah, this is her first set being played for the Cougs, and let's see what we can see from her.
Service there from Norwell. She's frustrated with herself on that, as that will give the serve back over to Utah. But always a special moment when you get your very first time on the court. And Magdalena, 6'4" redshirt junior out of Croatia, able to get that done now. Transfer out of Cal State Northridge. Here's the set from Argentina for Rubright, block back, this time outside for Uric, and she's going to put it away for her first collegiate kill. And you can tell by the look on her face that is a very special moment for her. And now she's going to get a chance for her first collegiate serve as well.
It looks like she almost forgot she had to go to the service there line with Jen Green having a reminder there.
And here comes the serve out from Magdalena. Almost shook her head at Burnett Graney, who said something to her before she served, but got it across, and then Utah able to put it away, and it's now a 23-12 lead for Washington State. Well, again, the balance throughout this team with so many veterans, and now a good chance to see some of these other players. Magdalena going to check out. Logan Golding going to check in. Think of the thoughts going through that young lady's mind right now. Her first action, her first kill, and her first serve. And now she comes out for her first substitution. Golden plays the serve. Dumped across by Argentina. They say pancaked up, so we'll keep things going. Meanwhile, for the Cougs, they think maybe it was down. I'm not sure if Jen's going to use the challenge on this or not. Meanwhile, I think Jen Greeney saying that one of the corner linesmen said that the ball was down. And so Eric Asami is going to bring the officials over. So he's got the corner linesman. Jen said, this guy here in the corner said it was on the court. That is supposed to kill the play unless the referee in the chair has conclusive evidence that he doesn't think it's down. He does have the ultimate call with the whistle that he can keep things going. But Jen's argument is that the play should have been killed because one of the officials, the corner linesman, called it down on the court, and they are going to give it now to Washington State, saying that the ball was down. Meanwhile, Beth Lanier now with a shrug of her shoulders over on the far sideline. So Beth now with a couple of comments for Linda Kildew, and it's now match point for Washington State. All right, 24-12 here. And Carly Basham at the service line. That's going to be an ace. How about tonight from Carly Basham? Not only gets to 1,000 digs in her Cougar career, leads the team with 16, but that'll be her third ace of the night. Boy, when it comes to picking a player of the game in this one, Evan, you could go with just about anybody in a Cougar uniform with so many different players. It is going to be Pia Timmer who's going to be our player of the game, as she had the 10 kills, the 2 aces, the 5 digs, and again, a really nice bounce back from last Sunday in Stanford, and again, with the 10 kills, leading the Cougar offense here tonight.
You really like to see this Cougar offense really bounce back, and again, like I mentioned earlier, it was just sharing the wealth all around with a good amount of players. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 7+ kills. I mean, what more could you ask for?
I mean, the Cougars hit 402 on the night, so that's a very healthy number for Washington State. 47 kills, 12 attacking errors, and 87 swings. So again, a 402 attacking percentage, 8 aces, 9 service errors. Again, a very good performance from not only Pia Timmer. Arhay was great from the center position. 7 kills and 7 attacks to go along with 31 assists. And we mentioned the defense that Carly Basham brought throughout the night as well. So again, Washington State comes away with a straight sets victory over the Utah Utes. They get it done 25-15, 25-21, and 25-12. And so with that, the Cougars do improve to 16-2 on the season, 6-1 in Pac-12 action. Meanwhile, the Utes drop to 8-9, and they're now 3-4 in the Pac-12.
The next game you got for the Cougs, you hope to see that they can carry this momentum forwards against their match against Colorado on Sunday at noon, right here back in Bullard Gymnasium.
Evan, as always, thank you for the time. Everybody behind the scenes here in Pullman, we want to thank them as well. And of course, to all of you out there listening and viewing, we thank you for watching. The 4th-ranked Cougars get it done in a sweep tonight over Utah, and they are starting a new streak as they get the win at Bullard Gymnasium. We'll see you Sunday if you want to make your way to Boulder, 12 o'clock noon against Colorado. And we're now saying so long. It's Steve and Evan saying so long on Pac-12 Plus.